Hello guys, yesterday we all witnessed how drunk and angry Medvedev was trying to threaten the world with the strength of Russia. But each day the Ukrainian armed forces exposed the weakness of Russia. And each day a new Kremlin goblin comments on some serious problems, expressing more panic and more anxiety coming from Moscow. So yesterday that was Medvedev trying to frighten the world with Russian 9 zones. And today this is Lavrov commenting that Russia does not have enough allies, actually none at all, which is very different from the previous wars it had to fight. And Putin is afraid to show up on public. He had to cancel Navy Day parade because they literally don't have any warships left, but also because he is afraid of the Ukrainian drones. And there are lots of videos that show his bodyguards carrying not just that poo suitcase that they typically had, but also real drone interceptors. And all because with each day of the failed blitzkrieg, it becomes more and more obvious Russia has failed tremendously. And with the invasion of Ukraine, it did not start the collapse of my country, but actually triggered the collapse of the Russian Federation. More explosions today, demilitarized logistics hubs in the temporarily occupied Donetsk region, and a railway in Rostov region, which serves for the supply of the Russian army. Let's discuss all of that in detail when I'm recording this video in one very beautiful place I will tell you more about later. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat of the Kremlin, subscribe. We are already discussing this on the channel. And please share these videos to share your solidarity and to help us spread the truth around the world. So yesterday we all observed how always drunk Russian former president or fake former president Medvedev wanted to threaten Donald Trump, saying that you cannot impose ultimatums to Russia. But come on, you have failed tremendously, and now even Trump sees great problems with the Russian economy, and the Russian economy is the main trigger for quite traditional collapses of monstrous constructs around Moscow, be it the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, and now the Russian Federation. Medvedev wanted to threaten the world war, like saying they can do whatever they want to the rest of the countries, but let's be realistic. They also plan to take Kyiv in 3 days. They plan to occupy all of Ukraine, and now after 3.5 years, we have dozens of Russian regions under constant attacks of Ukrainian drones, which only visit legitimate targets. We have lots of paralyzed airports and Russian air flop, as you have beautifully offered me this term yesterday. Russian air flood is real Russian air flop. It is not operating first because of the paralysis of the Russian airspace, but also because of the hackers that destroyed 7,000 servers there. That is huge. And what is interesting, we witness serious troubles inside the Russian economy. I know that trolls love saying, you've been talking about that so long, we still do not see it. Trust me, you will see it. And that's a big system that were hidden in disguise with numbers, with lots of state interference. But the level of bankruptcies is enormous. Whole branches of the Russian economy collapse. Steel, coal, gas. Companies that were once super successful go bankrupt. Gazprom, Lukoil, Aeroflot. And of course, those who observe, those who build some forecast, they know it. And they keep saying that Russia does not have enough resources to even occupy some of the Ukrainian regions, which it crazily decided to add to its own constitution. And that is why they wanted to persuade the White House that we have to go out of these regions, giving them to Russia. Why? Why? Because Russia does not have enough strength to get them. I'm sure we will witness that collapse, and it will be tremendous, especially taking into account that we observe this panic, this anxiety in the main mouthpieces of the Kremlin. Remember to subscribe to witness that together. Share, like, and comment these videos to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine. Okay, if you're wondering where I am, in one very beautiful place, really, really close to Chernobyl. Maybe I will tell you more in the days to come. But I've decided to record with this natural light, and it's constantly raining. So I'm sorry, because yesterday you were commenting that I have red face and it's just because of the light somehow. So today I keep it natural, but maybe it looks a little bit darker. Please forgive that. So anyway, it's super important to understand that Russian resources are exhausted. They've lost 1 million people and they achieved nothing. By the way, I think it's time to record a more discussional video where we can actually speak about these failed aims of Russian special military operation. To defend Russia, they claimed, I am sorry, but they've brought war to dozens of Russian regions. They didn't have Ukrainian drones paralyzing their airports when they started the invasion, so they failed. To demilitarize Ukraine, I'm sorry, now we are military industry hub and perhaps the most skilled ally of NATO countries. And what? To denationalize Ukraine? Well, lots of people who were neutral towards Russia are not neutral now, you can guess. If they wanted to protect Russian speakers, they also failed, because the majority of the regions and cities that suffer from constant shellings are the traditionally Russified regions. So everything failed. And I believe that more and more people inside Russia start to understand this, especially when they spend hours, days, sweating in Russian airports. And the cancellation of the Navy Day parade. Is that a sign of success of special military operation, that they don't have what to show? They are afraid to conduct a parade? That Putin is having something like a parade in a backyard? There are tons of memes. Same as tons of memes about the head of Aeroflot that perhaps will drink tea and go out of the window on, 50th floor. Anyway, Russia is in a very destructive mode. You don't have to occupy its territories to destroy the regime and to speed up the very natural collapse of the Russian Federation. Trust me, people. I've witnessed the collapse of the USSR. Okay, I was a small kid, but my parents, my grandparents kept talking about that. That was a great part of their life. And now it was super beautiful to watch whining Lavrov. He's got this huge face, and I typically do not judge appearance, but in case of Lavrov, it's like the direct connection between his inner world and his face. And he kept whining that Russia does not have any real allies, contrary to what it was in the Second World War, in the First World War. Well, we may say they do, like China, Iran, North Korea, but to tell you the truth, Russia pays them for that help, and Russia does not have money. Approximately $900 million are spent per day by Kremlin to kill and destroy Ukrainians. That's crazy, because they need that money. They are not a rich country. Their GDP is smaller than the one of Italy or Spain. And they claim to be the largest country in the world. The largest country in the world with such a small GDP. That GDP is way smaller than the GDP of Texas. Please remember that when deciding whether to be afraid of Russia or not. Be realistic. Stop following their fake BS when they kept describing themselves as the second strongest army, a super rich country, very competitive. No, they failed everything they started. They are a failed project that keeps looking for inspiration only in the past. They are not competitive. You don't have Russian phones, you don't have Russian computers, you don't have favorite Russian, drinks. Okay, vodka you will say, but they don't have analogs of Coca-Cola or Twix or something that you like eating, or fashion brands that you love wearing, like Zara. This is a failed state, and the invasion of Ukraine sped up this exposure. now you see it. I know that for many who were brought up during the times of Cold War with this image of the strong Soviet Union, it still may be a little bit difficult to accept this, because you were like brought up on this image of Russia as a small bear. But Russia is Medvedev. Medvedev is the face of Russia. Lavrov is the face of Russia. And Botox Putin. I know you loved it when I mispronounced and said like buttocks dictator. So he's Botox dictator. But actually when I look at the documentaries of Putin in like 2000s, yeah, he tremendously changed his appearance. He's super non-confident about himself. And that is also a sign of weakness. Please remember that when making decisions. And Ukraine kept demilitarizing important targets inside Russia, Rostov railway. By the way, let me know in the comments below, would you like a separate video about the destroyed railways inside Russia? Because it seems like this is a part of the strategy to seriously damage Russian military logistics inside Russia. I did not report much about that, but there were a lot of railway targets, and in Rostov there are also explosions on military bases, arsenals, which is good because means lots of innocent lives saved. And same in Donetsk, which is temporarily occupied by Russians, and it was a great mistake not to punish them to the fullest for the annexation of Donetsk, Luhansk and Crimea, but that is the lesson we have learned in Ukraine, and I hope you will trust our experience and help us defeat Russia before this evil expands. I know you know, but please share the video so that others understand. Check my new video on the new channel about the great Russian modern culture. There will be some important facts that can help you in conversation, to ask questions, to answer questions, because Russia keeps faking a lot of things about itself, when in the 21st century it actually cannot offer anything competitive on the market of ideas, on the market of industry, on the market of inventions. So thank you so much for your support and understanding. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Remember to follow me on social media, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads and Discord. The links in the description of this video. And also check our merch shop. There are lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. But most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!